Hi, I'm Anthony Casey, and welcome to Training, Thought and Truth. This is the second podcast with Neil Gunning. Okay, so welcome to the podcast, episode 2 with Neil Gunning. Neil's a PT in Kilkenny, online motivator, and actually Noel's cousin from the first episode, and has a powerful story behind where he is to now. But first, like the last time, this podcast is not so much an interview, but it's discussion between very driven individuals talking about what drives us physically, mentally and spiritually. So the training is the physical side, keeping our bodies fit and healthy. The thought is the mental side, keeping our minds sharp and equipped for challenges. And the truth is the spiritual side, how we value ourselves, what drives us and give us meaning to better ourselves. So the aim is to flesh out some commonalities and differences highlighted between motivated people. So Neil, you're doing an awful lot of training these days, and Exhibit A is from today, where I didn't realise I was going to be doing a workout. That was the buy-in for the podcast. That was what I had to pay for. Is that's a weekly thing for you? Run us through a week basis from Monday to Sunday, what you do. Physically, training wise, exercise wise.
Yeah, so for me personally, I suppose it depends on the goal. Depends what I'm working towards myself. I don't know what the term is, but I'd probably call myself more of a multi-sport athlete, if athlete's even the word. But I tend to vary between different sports and different challenges a lot, based on building, I suppose, a mental resilience as opposed to physical. But general week at the moment, I'm doing an ultra marathon next week, so I've been tapering the last couple of weeks, but say 5 runs a week, 5 including bigger or smaller.
How long is that, an ultra marathon?
Yeah, so the one I'm doing next week is the longest that I've ever tried. It's 127 kilometres along the Wicklow Way, so 3,000 metres elevation and a lot of mountains and trails, and I think the weather's forecast to be pretty poor, but I'll enjoy it, and all I can do is turn up to the start line and give it a bash.
And do you have any would you find any reoccurring injuries in the last few years, kind of stubborn ones that wouldn't go away? I remember I was talking to you recently about my shin splints.
Yeah.
Because I remember you said you had them, and I was holding you back initially. Yeah. Kind of. Would you have anything still?
No, it's surprisingly enough now, I've been pretty good. I had pneumonia in April, so that was a bit of a setback, and I've never had anything like that. So that was a real, I suppose, kick for me, because usually I'd been fairly healthy. I hadn't been to the doctors in a long time even, and generally I might get a cold or a little bit chesty, and I'd fight through that grand and I'd be back on my feet, but definitely got knocked for 6 with that. In terms of injuries though, to be honest, I felt fresher than I ever had. I do a lot of mobility and foam rolling and kind of using a hockey ball for trigger points, and I like being able to, I suppose, mess around and find the areas of tension and try and release them myself, and generally it's been working, and I probably find that the joints and the muscles are probably better than they ever have been. Yeah.
And that pneumonia, you got that from that challenge going into the water, into the sea, wasn't it, in April?
I don't know about that. That was Freesbury, so that was all of February. So it was a few weeks after that.
February,
maybe it had an impact, maybe not. But either way, I wouldn't have changed it.
Look how looking at the photos, even I don't know how you did it.
That's it.
You use I often see you posting up stuff online a good bit daily.
Yeah.
And you use a fitness tracker, the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
I actually use the same one, and I can see the way it's loaded out.
Yeah.
How important do you find fitness trackers for people getting into that? Do you think it's important, or do you think it's important at all?
I think it's good. There's I suppose there's different ways to look at it, but I think it's good in a way that, for me especially, it allows me to keep an eye on my intensity. So whereas sometimes I can look at different things, like you could use it to track the length of a workout, how your heart went, but you can actually use it as a heart rate monitor, so you can check your zone of heart rate, so you know the intensity. Because there's weeks where if I did a 5k run in 30 minutes, say, and I did it one week, and I did a 5k run in 30 minutes, and 1 week my heart rate was 160 beats a minute on average, and the next week it was 170 on average. It means that there was something else going on. I was fatigued in some way, that for some reason that was harder the following week. Whereas if you work in the zone and I kept it at 160, watching the heart rate throughout the run instead, it means I'm keeping the same intensity. So it might take 32 minutes the following week it's a bit longer on your feet, but you're keeping your heart rate a bit lower, so you're not pushing into that peak zone too much.
Yeah.
So like even the last couple of weeks, last 3 weeks, I've been focusing on keeping the paces slow and watching the heart rate. So I want to keep the heart rate low, because when it comes to an ultra marathon, you can't sprint it. So I need to train to keep the heart rate in a lower zone, because that's what I'll be doing. So it's specificity, you know.
Yeah, I was saying to Noel that I do often find, you know, when you don't get a good sleep,
yeah,
your heart rate is higher than usual.
Yeah.
Even just walking around, or even doing something small, it's like your heart is working harder and you're sweating more just to get the same effort out of you.
Yeah.
It is good telltale signs, like you said. You know, if you look and your heart rate is lower on a certain day or higher doing a certain thing, it's obviously telling you something. What are your current diet like at the moment? Because I know you would have posted a lot of photos of very prepped meals and all.
That only takes a second, you know.
It doesn't take a second.
So I do enjoy like the creative side of cooking, and I do enjoy food photography as well. So, and food art, but there is like a nutritional side to it as well. And so I've been on a plant-based diet for the last 20 months or so. So I started that as just to try it out for a week. That was all. There was nothing ethical about it originally. I did it for a week when I was going through a 12-month nutrition coaching program myself as a client, and it was just try out a plant-based diet. I had try out a caveman diet, try out different types of diets. So I tried the plant-based, and after a week, my energy levels were up. I felt great. And I suppose anybody would, because when you add in more veg or fruit into your diet, just in general, you're going to add vitamins, minerals, so your body's going to appreciate that, and I suppose give back to you. So then I said I tried for a month after that, because I had a couple of races coming up, and it said I'd see how it fueled me, and it fueled me great, and I suppose I just never looked back from there, and I've stayed on it since. So so far so good.
Yeah, and would you recommend that?
I'd recommend trying anything to a lot of people and to see what feels good. So I'd be an advocate of trying it out, and if you feel great doing it, why not do it? You know, if you feel not great doing it and you feel great eating meat or being vegetarian or pescatarian or paleo or whatever makes you feel good, makes you perform well, that's what I say go for. I understand that there's a lot of people that go plant-based, fully vegan, and that's an ethical side of it. So even at that, if somebody goes vegan, it's worth doing some research into different things that you might be deficient in because of being on a vegan diet. For example, like vitamin B12 is an essential vitamin that we need, and we can't get that in a plant-based diet, so it's important to supplement it. And a couple of amino acids are important to get in there, might be lacking a bit, like leucine, so it's important to get those in as a supplement when you can't get them in from your whole foods on a plant-based diet. So if you do go vegan for ethical reasons, it's important to just research so that you don't find yourself running down out of energy,
lacking something or deficient in anything.
Exactly.
And tell me, you're a PT. What qualifications do you need to get? Have you any nutrition, or is it, or where did you get your qualifications? So what do you have?
So originally, I 2017, I was working in financial services for 7 years in multiple roles, and I decided to take I was going through my nutrition coaching as a client myself. During that period, I was losing weight, and I suppose I wanted to change career. My passion was always to help people, so I left the career and went in and did my precision nutrition level 1 course. That would give me a nutrition coaching cert, and allow me to help people to start with nutrition coaching based on the experience I'd had as a client myself. So I had that relatability. And then I did my personal training course and fitness instructor course up in Blackrock and Elite Fitness and Performance Academy. So I did that over about 6 weeks full time in 2017.
How did you find that, by the way? I see it's advertised an awful lot on Facebook, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a great course now. Yeah, it's very, very well thought through, very practical as well. You're out there, you know, every day, like doing the stuff yourself as well. I find definitely like a lot of the technique taught and that it's very thorough, and the coursework is really good. You know, they do really make sure that you cover everything really well, and there's great instructors in there, so I couldn't fault it, to be honest. And it was great as a full-time course to get it done. It's not suitable for everyone to get in, and especially if they want to transition into the fitness industry, it's hard for a lot of people if they're working in a job at the moment to be able to move and go 6 weeks full time without a salary from their own job, and pay for a course. That's
a risk as well, isn't it? Because you had a good job, you had it for a long time.
It was, yeah.
I remember when you stepped away from it, Noel told me, and I was kind of surprised. I wonder what he's getting up to now. And obviously, it was a great move for you. You're much more happy, it seems, in it.
That's it, yeah. So like the way I describe it was like I was great at my previous career. I worked very hard in it. I was driven, but I wasn't jumping out of bed it wasn't a passion, I suppose, the word. And I always wanted to help people. So in the career, even in financial services, if somebody came up to me and say asked for help with preparing for an interview or getting their CV together or just anything at all, I'd get a burst of energy from nowhere if somebody wanted help with something. But for the normal day-to-day stuff,
Around finding your meaning in it, really.
Yeah, exactly. It was like you're working for a profit-based organisation, and you know, there's nothing at the end like rewarding in that for yourself. Whereas when I go to work now or I help people, I'm helping someone change their life, and that's rewarding, you know.
Yeah, and I suppose it's much better. I suppose there's so many options now, and the opening, anyone can apply for any course, and they don't have to burn daylight kind of getting up and doing all hours, you know.
Yeah, that's it.
What do you think, though, in terms of personality-wise? You think you need to be a certain type of person to become a personal trainer? Because you obviously need a bit of confidence. You're standing there, you're shouting, telling people what to do.
Yeah.
You're doing it yourself in front of everyone, you know. Do you think that ties into it, or does that come with it?
Personality too. I suppose the biggest thing you need when you're working with people, and like I said, you're working with someone to help change their life, they have to trust you, and you have to have that empathy and relatability to them. Like you'll have like, I suppose, a typical stereotype of a personal trainer, somebody there shouting, "Yeah, come on, get the reps done," and that. Whereas like,
sounds familiar.
Yeah, wasn't that bad. But generally, like the people that are coming into you are like that want to really change their lives. You know, they're going to be tentative, and they're going in there like looking at a whole new avenue with a long road ahead, and they need encouragement, and they need somebody that understands the journey that they're going to have to face. And you know, sometimes like you walk in and somebody just shouts at you and tells you what to do, like you're going to walk out there and you can have, now some people absolutely love being pushed really hard, so it's about like talking to the client, understanding them, having a real personal conversation with them so you understand that person, and then tailoring the coaching for them. So I might have one client that really loves being pushed really hard, getting told what to do, and working them really hard, and they walk out there because like they love that. Another person, you need to encourage them, need to work on one rep at a time, make sure that they're able to do that really well, and focus on doing their best effort and walking out there knowing that they gave their best. And that's what got them through the session, you know. I
suppose, well, you know, sometimes you can bite off more than you chew, but if you push people too much out of their comfort zone straight away, I guess they'll jump back, and you probably won't see them again then.
Exactly,
almost. It's not good for them, it's not good for you.
No, if you attach any negative I suppose bias towards the sessions, and like if it's not working for that person, if you can't understand where they are, where they want to go, like they're, you know, like I said, they won't trust you because you haven't leveled with them on where they want to be, and they feel like that you're not listening to them, and listening to what they're saying. So it's about understanding the client and building a good rapport with them to work with them well.
So back to you a bit. Tell me, what was the biggest, when you were at your heaviest, what was the biggest challenge you found to get up off the couch? Was it mental? Was it physical? Was it what was the hardest?
I always talk about this. It was the things that really triggered me at my heaviest were the little things like not being able to tie my laces, you know, walking upstairs and being out of breath, like one flight of stairs in the bank when I was working there. Might have to go to a meeting, walk up one set of stairs and out of breath.
How long ago was this now you're talking?
So my heaviest ever, I was about July 2016. I was at my heaviest, and I'd been there before, and you know, I'd lost the weight a different way, and I suppose I put the weight back on. I was heavier than I had ever been, and it was like July 2016. I was 142.7 kilos, and it was the heaviest in my life. Like I said, like tying my laces, not being able to play with the kids, run around, you know, carrying so much weight. Those little things, like they're the straw that breaks the camel's back. And it wasn't anything about, I didn't think long term about heart conditions like cholesterol, anything that could like cause me issue down the line. It was right there and then. The fact that I can't tie my shoelaces was tough, and not like the thought of only going one way and getting worse, and you know, where do you go from there? You can't get much worse, you know, until you're bedbound, and that was my decision. I was overeating and not doing any activity, and it was, my lifestyle was just terrible. So
do you remember making the decision?
I think the first thing I did was I remember one day I went out for a walk with my friend Cormac, and we went I think it was a 15k walk, and took about 4 hours, and I remember it was so hard, but it was just I said I'd get out, I just have to go out and do something. And then I joined up the local Kilkenny rugby team again to go back to pre-season training. And I was out there, and I can still remember I couldn't do 100 meters running without getting the shin splints like we talked about earlier on. It was so hard, and I think I lost between July and December about 4 or 5 kilos, nothing major, but just by adding in some activity and changing the diet a small bit. From there then I was talking to Rory and Kieran from FFS in Dublin, and they said they had a new nutrition coaching program starting, and asked me if I'd like to be a client on it to see if it could help change my life. And that was the Precision Nutrition 12-month, and it's a habit-based coaching program. So it doesn't tell me what to eat, it doesn't tell me what to do or anything like that. It's daily focus on your health and wellness through, I suppose, building new habits, breaking down the old bad habits that led me there. People yo-yo diet a lot, and it's very attractive because you're looking for short-term weight loss. Like, drink 2 shakes a day for 4 months, you lose 6 stone. Happy days. But I'm sure a lot of people listening to this will be nodding their heads when they say weight will pile back on. Because
like I said, I was talking to Noel about this. I think it takes a rewiring of your whole brain to look at food a different way, as fuel almost, and training as well, the same, like that it's an everyday task. Me and Noel said it. I said to Noel, actually, you said that we should consider it as important as work, and he said it should come first, and he's probably right. Like, your health is your wealth, like Absolutely, they say. But I want to get your ideas on something I picked up from a book I was reading recently, 12 Rules for Life, Jordan Peterson book. And he said in it that you should compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today, and to treat yourself as if you're someone who is responsible for helping. So the idea is that your actions have more consequences because there's you yesterday, you tomorrow, and you now. So you become a community among yourself, and then whatever you decide to do now, you're better than you were yesterday, but it builds who you are tomorrow. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think, like, when I talk to clients and that as well, we bring up self-compassion a lot, and I think a lot of people lack that. They don't think about themselves, they put everyone else first. And I remember one of my colleagues in the gym, Fabi, used to say to me a lot, you can't pour from an empty jug. So, like, if you don't look after yourself, how are you going to look after other people? So, like, there is this huge importance in taking that time to focus on yourself and your health and wellness and building yourself, because, like you said, like, you can look back at yesterday, and whatever happened yesterday it's out of your control now. So if you look back and your decisions weren't great yesterday, that's out of your control. There's no point dwelling on it or feeling guilty. It's time to wipe the slate clean, look at today, what's in your control, and what decision you can make, and your tomorrow self is going to thank today for that. And you look back and say, I made great decisions yesterday, what will I do today? Same again. And
we were talking about the fitness trackers and the apps, the Stravas or the Map My Run and that, and it is about focus on yourself, isn't it? Because I often see like of you and all going out and doing 20k runs and all, and I do a 5k, but it is, once you focus on yourself and get yourself that bit better, because other people are going through their own journey and they could be at different stages of it. I think that's important for people. When I often see people going to the gym with their friends and they're lifting huge weights so they're running flat out, and the other person won't come back then again, because I can't do that, but everyone is at their own journey. It can be disheartening, I know, like in a lot of ways, especially when you pick up a few injuries. Like I have a bad knee at the moment, but I think as well, Noel kept saying, just get it sorted, go and book the appointments and whatever else, and I did, and it was holding me back a small bit, but at least I got to it.
That's it.
Any kind of self-help books you picked up along the way, or what did you pull motivation from, online forums, or? There's a book called The Power of Habit. That's one that I would have read, and I'd encourage clients to read as well. And again, it's just focuses on the power of the decision now, and building habits, and habits take time. So like when you end up in a place where you have bad habits or poor habits, like those have been built over a huge amount of time, even from childhood, and it doesn't happen to break those in a week or 2 weeks, or it takes months if not years to break those habits down. So I think that book is great, The Power of Habit. I suppose it gives you a different approach to things, and only focusing on one step at a time, one thing at a time,
I always talk to people about that, the importance of just that one thing and doing that one thing consistently, and then it becomes habit, and that habit will help change your life, you know.
And you get addicted to your routine then. And once it goes into your routine, you know, it becomes a part of your daily life before you know it, almost, you know. I work at a desk, like I was saying earlier, and now you know, I go on my lunch at 11:30 for an hour, and now I go to the gym. It's right beside the place, and now sometimes I feel tired. I wasn't going to the gym, but my steps are real low when I get home. You know, you're sitting down all day. But now I find that I'll even go for a slow swim instead. You know, I keep going. If I sit in the canteen, I feel like I'm wasting that hour. Because then I have to do a walk when I get home, or you have to do something. But I want to ask, I was talking to Noel as well. He was talking about, he put on weight there recently in a couple of years. And he took it off like that as well. But do you remember being at your lowest? Can you bring us back to what brought you down that low? And how it was, kind of, you know, it's only a short period of time. You're talking about 3 years ago when you're at your absolute heaviest, and now you're 3 years on, you're you know, a fitness trainer. It's like polar opposite. Can you explain what brought you straight down?
The easiest way is to go back to 2009 or 2008, 2009. My mum was sick at the time. It was terminal, and I was at my heaviest of my life at that stage. So I was 130 kilos, I think, around December 2008, and Mum used to hate seeing the weight on me. You know, I wasn't going the right direction, I was going the wrong direction, and I suppose I felt like I had to take some sort of change, and I made, I suppose at the time, the best decision I thought was available to me, which was a liquid diet, and I did that for about 4 or 5 months after she passed away, and lost a lot of weight into mid 2009. After that, then what happened was I started training in the gym religiously, like 6 to 7 days a week. So huge amount of activity, huge amount of energy expenditure. I was eating like a horse as well, because to compensate. So I was maintaining my weight, so same amount of calories out as in, pretty much, if not more calories in, because I was probably building some muscle. And I started training strongman, competing strongman for a while. And I think it was around 2013 I ended up with an abdominal injury. So I tore one of my muscles in my abdomen, and it was one of these awkward injuries that kind of stops you doing really anything, because I couldn't move, you know, properly, couldn't bend, your core is used for everything. So I ended up with 2 or 3 months out of activity, but I didn't change. I had those bad habits, the same eating habits I had before I started the liquid diet, because you didn't build new habits on the liquid diet other than drinking 2 shakes a day for 4 or 5 months. So once I had no activity to compensate the food I was eating, I started storing calories, so putting back on weight. And then with that comes a bit of laziness. You know, you feel heavier, you feel sluggish, and I had an office job at the time, so it's very easy to get out of routine when you have an injury in that, and when you're not aware of your habits. So over the next couple of years, weight piled back on from 90 kilos up to 142 within 3 years or so. And so that's brought me up to July. So like, it was just like, again, I didn't have those habits built. So when I started that nutrition coaching, like, you know, from 2016 to the end of 2017, during that program, I focused on just daily basic habits, practicing small things, not attaching guilt to food. So if I did end up with a takeaway in front of me one night, I ate it, and if I felt full, I'd stop. But the next day, I wouldn't feel guilty about having a takeaway the night before. I'd wipe the slate clean, look at my next decision, which was breakfast, and seeing how we could make that the best choice I could. And it didn't have to be the best choice overall, just a better choice than what might have went for. Like
you said, in steps.
Yes,
whatever, you know?
And then over that year, I would have went up and down a little, but always moving right in the right direction, like down in terms of weight loss. But
because at the start of this year, I was probably at my heaviest, I would say. Well, my heaviest is probably about 16.8 stone. Not sure what that is in kilo, probably 110 or something similar to that. And I thought I was doing enough. I was kind of going to the gym 3 times a week. I was eating decently enough, but at the weekend I'd still have a takeaway or two. You know, I used to love the butter popcorn, you know. It's like 2,000 calories in the thing, you know. But you know, I was kind of eating okay during the week, and I thought that I'd do it. And I wasn't really adding much cardio, because I was saying, look, my shins are sore and I'm not going to do the running. And I upped it since January, where I was doing something every day, bar maybe a Sunday, you know, and I think that's where the fitness trackers come in as well, because they tap you and say you're way behind today, you know, and it does help you get out and do a bit, and you feel better for it. I was talking about this as well, you know, your mood lifts, you know, it's hard to get off the couch initially, and you can find yourself in a kind of what's the point kind of idea, you know, but when you do it, you never regret it. Sometimes I'm wreck tired. And you know, even, you know, to doing that workout, I was swimming earlier on because I couldn't I didn't have the sleep in me, the rest, and then I just found that once you do it, you never regret doing it. You know, you're on the far side of it now, unless you like snap your leg in half, you know, you're not going to regret it.
The hardest part is putting on your runners, or just that's it. Like, and
you get dizzy before you faint. You know, you see these signs coming. Like I went for a jog with Quinn recently enough. I was doing this Couch to 5K app. Just walk for 5 minutes, jog for a few minutes, walk for a few minutes, jog, and I always thought, jeez, that's all I can do. And then he said, "Are you going for a jog with me today?" And you're not going to stop. And we went from sprints into a 5K. And I looked at my heart rate, and it's like 170, and it was 0.1 kilometer in. I was like, "Well, I can't do this." He goes, You're not getting out of this now. And we're taking clothes off, just throwing it aside of the road. We'll come back for it. And we did it, you know. But it was. It just made me think that there is a mental barrier there as well, you know, and you think your body's not going to hold enough. My average heart rate and the other ones was like 155, then it was like 168, but I didn't realise, you know, you're not going to collapse and die on the ground, you know. Well, if you do, you'll see it coming, you know what I mean? Like, you know, exactly. you can push, you can do a lot more than you think you can, you know, and it's like if you bite off more than you can chew, you know, your body adjusts to it, especially when it comes routine. Music, I think, is a big influencer kind of on the spiritual side of things. I often me and my brother play music a lot, and, you know, it lifts the mood. I think, you know, people love to hear it, but even when I'm driving 5-minute drive, I put on a couple of songs, I know, playlist, or when I go running and all. I don't know, was saying differently. He was saying I don't really listen to it, I like to sort out my things. But where do you sit with all that?
I'm mixed, to be honest, so it depends what I'm doing, but I like music. I like to listen to music, and I make my own playlist, like put it together so that it's songs that I want. Sometimes I listen to a random one, but I want the music to match the tempo I'm doing. So if it's running, I like to have music on that like suits the tempo. So when a song comes on, I'm one of these people that, like, if I'm out dancing, I love hitting that beat. Like, so like when I'm out running, my feet have to be in time with the music. So I have a fast BPM on the music. When I'm going for a fast run, I'll hit those beats, and it makes me feel good because I have that, like, I like to hit the beat, but so if I was off beat, it'd drive me mad.
There's nothing worse when a slow song comes on. You know, when you're running, you're trying to, you know, change it.
With the slow songs, then you try to use a bit of musicality and find the beats that you can't hear. But I do like to run without or do activity without them sometimes, because I do like to hear myself think sometimes. So especially on the longer things, like, there's times where, like, you have to face those battles of, like, you know, wanting to quit or things like that, and you have to answer those questions, and, you know, sometimes music can just be noise then at that stage, where you have to really hone in on what you're talking to yourself and what your self-talk, what
you're trying to achieve,
using positive self-talk and like positive like phrases to keep going, like, you know, what you remind yourself why you're doing it. But if there's music playing, sometimes it's just noise in your head.
I find as well it's good to pretend sometimes you're not doing the exercise. Like I was saying to Noel, there was a line on Hell Week, it was get out of your own head, and I thought it was good, because sometimes you're running and you're thinking, I'll go up to that pole there and I'll stop, or I'll go over here and I'll stop, or when I get to point 4 or, you know, I'll stop. But then if you let your mind wander, there's no music on, sometimes you forget you're running, and you're doing the distance there, and your heart rate is still the same as what it was 2 kilometers ago or whatever. You know,
if you can get into a semi kind of meditative state while you're running, it's really good. You just find yourself moving. You find yourself more relaxed, so you're not holding as much tension in your shoulders or anywhere else other than where you're supposed to be. And you get into that nice rhythm where you're breathing really well, you're relaxed, your heart rate is low, and you just get to zone out a little, and you just move. And then, like, obviously muscle starts to break down over time. It depends how long you're going for, but then you start facing those battles for a little while that you have to get through, but then you hit your high again, and you know what's important to focus on what you can control in that moment. Again, just that one thing, like whether it's your breathing or relaxing your shoulders, and the next step, or those little things, that'll keep you focused, like, you know. And then if you zone out and you're running, that's perfect, like, you know, they're the bits that you have to enjoy, and when they come through, you get through the hard parts then by, you know, focus on little things that just one thing at a time to get you through it, rather than having to get through a big section, because you'll get your high back.
And another thing we were talking about on the podcast was the drivers to get up and actually do it. You know, what makes it meaningful, why do it at all.
Yeah.
Me and Noel attributed a lot of drivers to our faith, and we both saw eye to eye on that. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I haven't been a hugely religious person since probably, I don't know, when younger. You know, I think it was having to go to church and things like that. I just, probably for myself, it was like a negative side of it, like that. You know, I think there's a lot of things where you get to try out things yourself, and if you enjoy them, you can keep doing them. For me, it just wasn't something that I was always keen on. But so, like, while I might say, like, I'm not a huge believer in this or that, like, there's definitely like that kind of like out of body experience that you can get when you're just in your mind, and like there is something more there where you feel I know there's definitely like something, you know, that, but it's just not, I don't, for me it's, I detach the religion away from it, because like whenever we were invented or whatever, Big Bang or whatever happened, I think like at that stage any spiritual things, there wasn't a book written about it, there was no Bible, there was no, you know, it was just that you got to embrace that feeling of out of body experience, or you know, whatever it might be that made you feel something that wasn't like right here now. It's like just something more. There was no Bible then, there was no apostles, there was no Quran or whatever it was. Just like, you know, I think so that's probably more where I'm at on it, rather than it like being solely down to religious for me, like, you know.
Yeah. The last couple of years I kind of pulled away for it. Not the last couple of years, a few years before that. But then in recent years I kind of found it again in terms of away from the Catholic Church or organised religion, more just the my own faith in it, you know. And I spoke a bit about that in the last podcast, but I did a lot of digging into it as well, and became a driver for my meaning in getting things done. But also as well, you know, I was under the pain of, say, working out or running or outside, anything like that. I remember walking back and sweating, you know, my hands on my head after a run like that. But then, you know, you forget about it, that pain dies off, and you remember the good things. Like I remember my son is at home, he's healthy, we're young, you know. And I often go out on the bike cycling, and I often get off the bike and look around sometimes, you know, man, it's a cracking evening, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, why we would attribute a higher power to a lot of the stuff, you know, especially I have the love for Kyron, and I think, jeez, you know, and I'd like to dig into things like that. It gives me a driver, but it's different. I suppose it's different for everyone where they get their motivation from as well. The other thing I was going to ask you, what would you say to people who are stuck in that rut, stuck sitting on the couch, wondering, you know, what's the point of doing this? You know, wondering, why should I do it? Why should I give up this, that, and the other? Is there any meaning behind doing it? What's in the long run for me?
You're saying the right words for them. So like, why? And that's the only word they should be asking, and they should be asking it several times to themselves. So what we work through, let's say I work through with clients and I work through myself, is like finding the real why of what they want to achieve change for. So if you ask somebody like, why do you want to lose weight, and they're like, because I want to look skinny. Okay, why do you want to look skinny? So like, I can fit into clothes better. And why do you need to fit into clothes better? Because like, I want to go out and enjoy myself without being conscious of not fitting into clothes. And like, why is going out and wearing good clothes important to you? Because I want to meet someone. And why is that important? Because I want to have a family. And now you're finally getting down into the digging deep, rather than just asking them once, I just want to lose weight just because I should lose weight. You're actually finding out that they want to start a family, and they feel they can't where they are at the moment. Or there might be other things of like, why do you want to lose weight? I want to be a bit fitter. Well, why do you want to be fitter? Because like, I can't play with my kids at the moment. And then you stop there and you say, alright, every time you don't want to get off the couch, remind yourself that you want to play with your kids. And that'll get you off the couch. Because
that time goes by quick when your kids are that age and they want to play with you. And then all of a sudden they're in a different house, and you might see them once a month. You know, I think as well at our age, you know, late 20s, early 30s, or whatever age you're at, you know, like Noel said, you can go until the doctor stops you at 70 or 80. You know, I think it's important though you catch it early on, and try to get ahead of it and rewire your brain. I think your kids pick up on that. They see you eating, they see that it's a big thing, because I don't think that was with the last generation so much. You know, we didn't know as much as we know now about food and the science of it, and amino acids and vitamins, what's in, you know, chicken. We're just throwing spuds on a plate, probably, you know.
But one of the funny things about that is, like, I always say it, and even though it was, So everybody listening to this going to nod their head when I say, what were you told by your parents when you had food in front of you when you were a kid and you didn't want to finish it? Like, finish your dinner, finish what's on your plate. And that was driven into everyone. And then if you didn't finish what your plate, it's like, if you don't finish your dinner, you're not getting what? You're not getting dessert. So you're force feeding a big portion to your kids and then giving them extra on top of it because they wanted it. So, and I even find that with my own kids sometimes, like I'm much better at it now, but if there was a time where I was like, finish up, and we nobody teaches parents how to portion for their kids. Like, there's no book.
That drives on with you. Like, I still have to get myself out of that. When I go to a restaurant now, I finish the whole thing and I'm stuffed. And I go, why did I do that? And the odd time, like, I have to do it more. I have to practice that. Where you are told, we used to bring a plate over to our dad, and he says, what about this guy here? What about this little turn up here? But now you should really, I look at Kyron's plate, we dish him out and say, well, that was, if he doesn't eat it all, well, he had a good bit, in fairness to him, and he had lunch earlier on, and he ate his meals. He ate 4 meals, and it was in good proportion.
If the kids come up to you and say, I'm full, then say, okay, cool. They can either put it away for later on, or if they don't need it, it's better, like, put it back in the bin or out in the compost. And it's going to go back into the ground. It's not being wasted. It's being wasted if you put it in for no reason. We are leading into an obesity crisis, and it's because of how much we eat. It's not because of what we eat. It's how much of what we eat that causes us to store extra calories. And
I say to Kyron, you can make it interesting. That chicken gives you the protein. Keep you strong. The broccoli keeps you from being sick. Has when you put it out like that to them. They look at it differently, and then that goes on. And if they don't eat it all, to go back in the fridge, or whatever.
Exactly.
I did, sometimes you do that with a takeaway. You get the rice, you get the tub, and you say, right, there's going to be a bit left over. I'll throw it all on the plate, and I'll eat it all. Even if it takes me a half-hour break and I go back at it. We have to learn to, portion control is important, because that's made for everybody, no matter what size you are. It's trying to get everybody in. You might need to eat that much, especially late at night, which your takeaway usually is, and it just sits in your stomach for the night. You get a shit sleep because you're digesting it for the night, and but probably full of salt as well, so you're wrecked the next day.
It takes time to cue into your hunger, like, and actually say, like, if you do order food, like, am I hungry? Like, 3 things I say is there's a need, a should, and a want. Okay, so like your need food is when your hunger pang, stomach's rumbling and it doesn't stop. You need food because your body's telling you need food without actually having to. Like, your should then is, I should eat food at breakfast time. I should eat food at lunchtime. I should eat because we've been told we should eat food at breakfast. But if you wake up in the morning and your stomach isn't rumbling, you're not hungry. You don't need food, but you think you should eat food. And then there's the want. It's when you're walking past Superquinn and the door's open in the bakery and you want food. You just want food out of nowhere. It's not because you need it. Again, your stomach's not rumbling. All of a sudden you just want it. It's a craving. So, like, if you can cue into that a bit more and just actually stop for 10 seconds and ask yourself a question. Is it a need, a should, or a want? And if you can answer the question, you don't actually need food and you're on a weight loss journey, then it's no harm in just saying, okay, this is a need, or this is a want or a should. I'm going to wait, and when I need food, I'll eat it. When I actually feel hungry, I'll eat it.
I think the more you eat about stuff, the more you crave it as well, don't you? If you go for a few, I went off takeaways for Lent. Not saying I had it every day. I had it like once a week, maybe twice a week. Went off for Lent, and then I thought I'd be dying for it. You know what I mean? When I came back to Easter Sunday. But it wasn't, and I was okay. And I've had probably 2 since then. And it's a good while ago now, But as well, I think as well, an important thing as well, I was eating healthy for ages, and then the weekend I was having a clatter load of pints. You know what I mean? Like, and there's people putting Pringles out on the table, like, oh no, I'm watching my weight, and sculling the pints. And
exactly.
Like, well, how many's in that? You know what I mean? When you calories, think, like, everyone should have a takeaway, and everyone should have a few pints. But like at the end of the day, it's just overkill sometimes. You know yourself, I think, as well. Anyway, So what's the next challenge for you then?
Like, physically it's the ultra marathon, so I'll do that next Friday, and that's a midnight start. So like,
midnight start.
Where is that? Starts in Marley Park and finishes in Clonegall and Carlow, but 21 hours to get it all done. My big target is to hit the most I've done before is 58. So if I can get to 75. 75 is a big target in 12 hours. I have a support runner, Rory from FS, is coming down, and he's going to run with me the next section, which is 27. One of my huge goals for running this year is to run 100k in one day. So if we can get up to the next section, brings you up to 102. So I'll just take it from there, see how the body is. You never know.
100k, like sometimes when I do a 100k cycle, I have to set it out and I have to pack loads of food and all, and you know, it takes prep from days before.
Absolutely, yeah.
It takes hydration, drinking so well, sleeping right for a couple of days in a
Best
row,
you can, yeah.
carb and low GI carbs and all. Like it's a tough gig, isn't it?
It's
And then the last thing I want to say is that you have a bit of a weight loss video.
Yeah.
So I'll play that now to finish it up anyway.
Cool.
And thanks very much for
No problems.
coming. The podcast too wrapped up. Fair play. Thanks very much.
Thanks, million.
I appreciate it. Thanks very much.